What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how Italy became the most divided country in Europe. If you look at a map of Europe, it might seem like Italy is an extremely underrated country. It has great weather, beautiful coastlines, a ton of historical cities, and two very cool islands. However, if you ask any Italian, they will tell you that their country is actually quite bad. They have terrible infrastructure, slow trains, corruption, a failing government, and a ton of other issues. If you talk to any Italian, they always complain about how their country could have been so much more. And to understand why Italians feel this way, you have to take one look at a map. Italy is probably the most divided country in Europe. Now, what I mean by this is that there are two very distinct regions in Italy. There is northern Italy and southern Italy. To show you how divided the country really is, let's check out a couple maps. This is a map of Italy showing population density. Let's zoom in on the center of the country so we can see both the north and south. You can see right away that the biggest population centers are in northern Italy. The reason for this is because the north has about 1/3 of the entire country's population. But let's go even further north. This is a map of Italy from 2011 showing major highway roads. You can see once again that almost all of the major highways and infrastructure is in the north. The two main cities in the southern half of the country are Naples and Rome. Now, these are big cities, but you have to remember that they each represent just one side of the country. Now, here's another map, but this time it's from 2021. As you can see, not much has changed since 2011 when it comes to infrastructure. Again, almost all of the major highways are located in the north, with only one highway in the south connecting the two largest cities. And one last map to drive this point home. This is a map of Italy showing nighttime light. Once again, you can see that all of the major urban centers are in the north, while the south is relatively dark, meaning that most of the people in southern Italy live in rural areas. So, why does northern Italy have so much more infrastructure and population than the south? Well, there's one word that basically sums up the answer to this question, and that word is geography. Let's take a look at the two sides of the country and see how their geography has impacted them through history. Let's start off with the north. When looking at the north, you can immediately see that there are two things that stick out. First, the Alps Mountains cover the western part of the region, while the Po River runs through the eastern part. Both of these geographic features have shaped the region in many ways. First, the Alps Mountains created a natural barrier between northern Italy and the rest of Europe. Because of this, northern Italy was relatively isolated throughout most of history. However, this isolation had a silver lining. Since it was isolated, northern Italy was able to develop its own culture and identity, which over time became known as the Italian identity. So, in a weird way, the mountains helped shape modern-day Italy. The second thing that helped northern Italy become the powerhouse of the country is the Po River. The Po River flows almost directly north to south, which made it perfect for transportation. In particular, the river was perfect for moving goods. Rivers typically move from west to east in Italy because the Italian peninsula is located in the Mediterranean Sea, and the Mediterranean Sea is on the east side of Italy. This meant that rivers in Italy naturally flowed towards the sea. However, because northern Italy is so far north, gravity actually caused the rivers to flow south instead of east. This made the Po River, which was the longest river in Italy, a perfect location to build trade routes. In fact, the area around the Po River contains two of Italy's three biggest cities. Let's take a look at them. The city of Turin sits at the western edge of the Po River Valley. Like all of the major cities in northern Italy, Turin benefits from being close to the river. Because of this, it was able to develop into a major agricultural center. The Po River made it easy to ship crops out of the area. The river also helped power the economy with water-powered mills. Turin's location along the river is also why it became such a big city. The further north you went in Italy, the warmer the climate became. This made the area around the Po River ideal for agriculture, which attracted lots of people. Further down the river from Turin is Milan. Milan sits near the center of the Po River Valley and has always been one of the most powerful cities in northern Italy. Much like Turin, Milan is surrounded by fertile farmland, and this made Milan a great place to build a city. But it's another geographic feature that really helped push Milan ahead of the other cities in northern Italy. Unlike Turin, Milan is pretty far away from the Alps mountains. This made it easier for Milan to trade with the rest of Europe since they didn't have to go over any mountains. The Swiss Alps actually blocked most trade routes in the Alps, making places like Milan much more accessible. A lot of famous trade routes like the Via Francigena went right through Milan. All of these trade routes helped Milan grow into the financial capital of Italy. The final major city in the north is Venice. Venice wasn't built around the Po River like the other two major cities. Instead, Venice is built on a lagoon in the Adriatic Sea. Venice grew into a major city because of its location in the sea. Its location in the sea made it one of the best trading partners in the Mediterranean. For centuries, Venice was a maritime republic that dominated the Mediterranean. Even though Venice is no longer a republic, its legacy still lives on. To this day, Venice is one of Italy's major tourist destinations. Now let's take a look at the south. Southern Italy is pretty unique in that it has some great geography, but at the same time it has some terrible geography. I think it's best to start with the good geography. Southern Italy has some of the best coastline in the entire Mediterranean. Naples and the Amalfi Coast are probably two of the most picturesque places in Europe. If Italy was a poorer country, these places would likely be some of the best tourist destinations in the world. But unfortunately, Italy isn't a poor country, so these places get very crowded every year. Also, southern Italy has some great access to the sea. Both Naples and Sicily have natural harbors which have allowed them to grow into major shipping hubs. However, despite these geographic advantages, southern Italy is much less developed than northern Italy. One of the reasons for this is because of the geography in central Italy. Central Italy contains the Apennine Mountains, which run through almost the entire peninsula. These mountains are not as tall as the Alps, but they still form a natural barrier between northern and southern Italy. This mountain range made it hard to travel north and south, which is likely one of the biggest reasons that southern Italy fell behind. Another reason that southern Italy fell behind is because of how far south it is. Southern Italy is the furthest part of the country that receives consistent sunlight. This makes the southern part of Italy much hotter than the north. Hotter climates are typically harder to live in, which is likely why so few people live in southern Italy. So those are the reasons that Italy is so divided. Northern Italy's better geography allowed them to develop a stronger economy and better infrastructure. This, of course, upset the Italians in the south who have worse geography. Now, it should be said that the North didn't become wealthy by exploiting the South. Instead, the North was simply able to develop a stronger economy because of their better geography. If the Italian peninsula looked different and the Po River ran east instead of north, then maybe southern Italy would be stronger. Now, Italy is still a beautiful country, and I hope to visit someday. But even though it's beautiful, it's still one of the most dangerous countries in the EU. You can watch this video to learn why. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe. I post videos about geography and you don't want to miss them. I also have a Patreon account. If you want to support me and my work, then you can check that out. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.